My name is Jen Coffey. I work on our Pro Services team, and I'm joined by Gail Vaughn, our reporting guru, along with a few other members of our team. Today's topic is our data warehouse and the reporting views we've made available for your use. We use these same reporting views to deliver content to you, like gadgets and reports, and you can leverage these same views to generate your own custom metrics. So during today's webinar, you can use your GoToWebinar control panel to ask questions, raise your hand to answer questions, or share additional comments. And you can chat to the organizers if you have any specific questions. So don't be shy. We do want your feedback. And we will stop throughout to take any questions if we can, anything that's related to what we're covering at that point. And we will have a Q&A session at the end for any topics we don't get to or any specific questions you don't get answered during the normal course of the webinar. So on today's agenda, we are going to get started with a quick audience poll. We're going to review the available documentation and reference materials that you'll be able to take advantage of after today's webinar. And we'll deep dive into the definitions behind the reporting views and discuss how you can apply them to your own KPIs. So to make the most of our time together today, we do want to get a feel for your experience level just to kind of gauge where our audience is at. A question's going to pop up in your GoToWebinar control panel. It's got a list of some common activities related to SQL and reporting, accessing the data, working with the data. So just select anything that applies to you. It is not a test. It is not pass-fail. We just want to make sure that you guys are going to be able to walk away from the webinar today with the tools that you need to start analyzing your data, and we'll tailor our examples and our focus today accordingly, just based on the response that we get from the poll. So give me one moment. I'm going to go ahead and launch that and give you just a moment to enter your responses, and then we'll get going with the rest of today's webinar. Okay, so if you are still voting, just try to go ahead and wrap that up, and we will get going. But thus far, it looks like we have a pretty good mix. Everybody's kind of got kind of spanning all these different things. So I think we've got a good set of folks and a good agenda for today. So I think you guys will be able to make use of these very quickly. And I'll try not to bore those of you who are more advanced. And I don't think we're going to lose the rest of you guys. So thanks so much. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the poll now. And I am going to move on. Okay, so it might seem a little bit backwards to touch on what to do after the webinar before we really get started with today's content, but I do want you guys to be aware, and I like to always ensure that we stress that up front, everything that we're going to cover today is going to be published on our doc site. Much of it's actually already there. There is a dedicated page for this webinar under the reporting or under the webinar calendars. And it includes links to any files that we're going to use today. Anything that we discuss today will typically be linked there and or attached. The slideshow that we're looking at right now will be there, and any other related content will also be uploaded. So you can always search the doc site for applicable content, but we do try to consolidate these resources on the webinar's dedicated page for your convenience. So when you get going after this, you don't have to go hunting down all the resources we're going to point you to today. That does go for all of our webinars, so if you missed one, just jump on the doc site and select the link on our homepage to the training videos and recorded webinars, and that'll get you going. And similar to the one today, you'll have any attachments, downloads, things like that to help you get going with whatever we'll be demoing in those webinars. So Just a couple screenshots here, but just basically once you pop on the site, it'll all be there in one place. Very helpful, very easy to get to. This is sort of the deep dive into all the content, and then the gallery of training videos and recorded webinars is going to give you sort of that summary view where you can just grab the video and get going. So there's a number of different ways that you can work with our reporting views, and accessing your data and visualizing your data in a reporting tool or a dashboard is going to require some sort of application or tools to do so. So I'm just going to touch on a few of your options there. And if there are any questions specifically about any of these, or that you have about any specific applications that you want to use, feel free to ask. I don't know that I'll be able to confirm compatibility with anything in particular, but anything that works with MySQL should be fine. So to work with our data, you're going to need a way to access it and display it. You can publish dashboard gadgets in absolutely no time at all by pasting custom queries. So the way the reporting views work is you'll be able to write very, very simple queries to get complex data without having to write a bunch of joins or deep dive into SQL and SQL syntax. So you can take your very simple query, pop it into one of our gadgets, and have it up on your dashboard in just a few minutes. And we do have content up on the doc site that shows you a 10 minutes or less sort of walkthrough of creating a custom gauge. So once you've prepared your first query, I highly recommend plugging it into a gadget to test it out. So you typically are going to test your queries and browse your data in a SQL management tool like the ones listed here. So Heidi SQL is what we'll use in our demo today, and but you don't have to. Many of these are open source, so whatever you've got experience using or prefer to use is going to be fine. And another way to visualize your data is through a reporting tool. So if you need to prepare a formatted report that you can then publish to a PDF or an HTML report that you can distribute to clients or internal stakeholders, that's going to be more of a reporting tool like our ConnectSMART report designers, report builder, Crystal reports, something like that. And if you don't need to format pretty reports for distribution, here's one of our dashboards. And if you don't need to format pretty reports like these for distribution to a customer, you've always got access to your data directly in Excel, where you can view and report on. You can turn it into pivot charts, things like that, without having to dive into a SQL management tool, learn SQL syntax. You can use the built-in built-in Excel filters and sorting and pivot tools to your satisfaction. So those are a couple of different ways that you can access your data. So you're not limited to just popping into our proprietary tools. It's all standard stuff, and you probably already have some of these. So let's see. So we have a number of views in the database, and many of them are based on the standard reporting views in ConnectWise. ConnectWise has already done done a bunch of the work, so there's no reason to reinvent the wheel on a lot of that. So we do have a number of them that are directly mapped to what you would expect to have in the ConnectWise reporting views. And ConnectWise indicates their reporting views with the V_RPT. Ours similarly are V_CW, and if you see those where they correspond to the VRPT report name, you can bet that that's going to correspond to the ConnectWise report. So the columns should be the same. There is one note I would like to make on service ticket tables and views. In the service ticket views, we do not have the description, the detailed description, the internal analysis, and the resolution fields. They don't get imported with the ticket tables because it impacts performance quite a bit. And all that information does get maintained, all the stuff from notes, closed loop emails, any kind of ticket updates entered directly, time entry notes. All those do get maintained elsewhere in the database, so you're not losing that data, but folks typically don't report on it. So unless you need it, you can go ahead and safely leave it alone and just join it in as needed. But you're going to see much, much better performance by leaving that stuff out. So just a heads up that if you go take a look at the ticket view, it's not going to match exactly with the ConnectWise reporting view because those 3 fields will be missing. So those are all pretty much documented in the ConnectWise docs, and I do have them linked on this webinars page. So no need to hunt those down. You can actually just get there straight from the webinars page. But our own custom reporting views, we've done the heavy lifting to join in the other tables, get the whoops, sorry, I think I hit my mute button. I'm not sure where we dropped off, but I will jump back. Basically, so we've prepared our own custom reporting views to put data together in ways that our customers have requested and to facilitate putting together gadgets, dashboards, and metrics based on ITIL or some of the other peer groups that are out there that we work with. And that's what we're going to be covering today primarily. So some of those views. So right now there is a spreadsheet on the webinar page that has the views that we're talking about today. Just as a heads up, we are integrating our docs site with some of our development workflow to get you live galleries of the gadgets, the reporting views, the dashboards, and other content as it's released. But in the meantime, I do have this reference here where you can filter, sort, try to find any columns you're looking for, get a feel for what's available in those views without having to navigate to them or browse them directly. So that's there for your reference, and you can grab that, like I said, from the webinar page. And one of those views, so VCW Daily Ticket Activity. This is a summary of activity taken on tickets by day. It's limited to data for the last year. It is a bit of a resource hog because we're joining a lot of dissimilar data. But what it does is it's going to give you daily stats on the number of tickets that were closed, the number of tickets that were entered, resolved, res planned, responded, and so on. And it's going to let you break those out by board name, priority, service type, and as we identify additional columns that you guys would like to break these out by, we will get them added. And just to give you an idea of how that's used, you can see here, this is a gadget and also a chart, very similar to a chart that could be prepared in a report designer, that shows you all of those statistics by day over time. So you can keep everything that you would like. You can use the whole thing, or if, let's say, you only care about entered and responded, that's where you could just limit to those two and keep them on the gadget or your chart. Also similarly, you can see how certain service types are impacting your ticket volume. So a lot of folks have technology or vendor indicated in their service type, and they want to see a breakdown of ticket volume by service type, not so much board or something like that, but specifically that service type. So we went ahead and pulled that in. And as we get feedback from you guys, we will pull in additional columns as needed. So that's just one way you can visualize that. So the daily time activity is actually giving you a daily breakdown of hours by the ticket and company fields. So we get folks all the time requesting a breakdown of time entered by agreement type. And currently you'd have to join in the agreement types with your service tables to get that data. We've gone ahead and pulled that in for you. We've also pulled in the company types since we get that request a lot where people want to be able to exclude and include specific company types. So that's also not available at the service views out of the box. So we went ahead and added that for you. And also service board, service type, service subtype, and service location. So service location typically indicates whether the service was provided on site or remotely. And folks do like to see an hourly breakdown by that as well. So in addition, I didn't make the columns make it over here, but you also have the same columns you would typically see in your time reporting view with like the work role, work type, and so on, and member ID. So you can use this a number of different ways, and on the next slide here, I've just shown another way. So this is where I've pulled it into Excel, and I wanted to see a breakdown by agreement type. And so this is last month's breakdown by agreement type. Of course, it's showing a percentage when it really shouldn't be there. The percentage makes sense over here on this chart. That is an Excel thing. So what it's doing is it's just showing me which of my agreements are taking up the most of our time. And there we go. So the sky is kind of the limit there. You can see how that information trends. You can restrict it to a certain time period. That is up to you. So VCW Open Tickets by Tech. This one's very similar to the service tables and service views, but the thing that makes this one stand out is it actually gets you ticket counts by an assigned tech. So right now, you can look at the service view and see a resource list, but you can't pull a count of all tickets that are assigned to a specific member. So what this does is it pulls in a single row for every assigned member on an open ticket, and it's an active assignment. So it's going to only include things that have not been marked complete by the member. And if there's multiple people assigned to the same ticket, if you have, say, Joe and Bob on the same ticket, there will be 2 rows for that same ticket, one for Joe, one for Bob. So just keep in mind that this one is specifically defined information by assigned tech. So it's not for just going and getting a straight ticket count of statuses because there could be duplicates. So you want to definitely make sure this is always grouped by tech. And it is distinct, so you will not see one row for each schedule record per member. It's just going to be one for each distinct member. Very similar to Open Tickets by Tech is Tickets by Tech, and the distinction here is that it's actually going to take any historical records as well. So anything that it's going to include all the open that you would see on Open Tickets by Tech, but it's actually also going to give you all the historical records. So let's say we are trying to set up compliance gadgets. I want to see a list of tickets that are missing agreements, and I want to see the assigned tech so that person can then go and clean up their tickets. This is where I would actually go. I would filter by that tech, or I'd group by tech, and then I'd go look for where the tickets are missing an agreement, or tickets are missing configurations, or tickets with no time. That all is pretty great to be able to find, but when you just have that resource list, it's a little hard to tell because it's a concatenated field. This one lets you actually get that breakdown by member without having to do extra work in SQL. So we find this one very, very useful, and find that a lot of folks find these very useful as well. So the ticks hours summary view that we've added, it's actually summarizing some time entry stats per ticket. So an example of how you would use this, let's say you wanted to figure out your first contact resolution rate. Well, this table pulls in, or this view pulls in a sum of the number of time entries that were entered on your ticket. So if the ticket has a number of 1, then it's a first contact resolution, and if it's more than that, then no. And depending on how you handle zeros with no time, you can include or exclude that, but this is a minimum of work for you to do. You don't have to go put a bunch of joins in. You can just yank this into Excel, pop it into a gadget real quick, and away you go. Similar to that, it also pulls in the number of active members. That's just going to give you a number of individuals who actually worked on that ticket, and by worked, we mean they entered time on it. So if you want to see tickets that required the involvement of more than one person, that's a great statistic that you can use there, and it's already there ready to go for you without any additional work. Most of the rest of these columns are just stats summed up at the ticket level. So these you should be pretty familiar with from some of the time reporting metrics that are out there if you have done any of those. And let's see here. Okay. Now these are some of the stats that are giving you that daily breakdown. And what it's going to do is, so for tickets closed daily, it does give you the closed by and gives you that breakdown by date. So you can get a count of tickets closed over time, by service type, by priority, by the closing member. However you want to break that down, you can either just use it to filter over a period of time, or you can actually just see how things break down over that period of time. So you can use it for trending. You can use it to get a grouping by the person who actually closed it, so performance, just to see who's been closing the most tickets. That is something that you can also go ahead and join to some of these others here that we've got, like say tickets entered today. These last few all have very similar layouts. It's essentially just trying to get you that activity per day, who did it, and what kind of tickets it hit. Same thing with res planned and responded. So that is it for the slideshow. I'm going to go ahead and pop over to Excel to show you how to grab some data and play with it there. Does anybody have any questions at this point that we can answer? All right, looks like I am either boring you guys to death or giving you every piece of information you need. So, all right, give me one moment. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle some screens around and get you visibility to my Excel. So give me one moment. Okay, so here I have Excel open. And just to give you an idea, it's just a little add-on that you download and install. It's free. It's not a paid. It's not a paid-for application. But what you do is you would actually just connect to your ConnectIO instance, and that would be with the read-only credentials that we provided or that you've set up for your team members. And what will happen is I'm going to just bounce back. So you'll connect. And this is the one that we're going to use. I'm going to hit next. And I'm going to go ahead and connect to some of those views. I don't really need the tables right now, but let's see. So daily ticket activity we can start with. Actually, that's what I just pulled in. So let's do this guy. So you're just going to import. It's going to ask you where you want to put it. There we go. It's going to ask me what I want to do here. And it's yelling at me because I'm in an existing worksheet with data. So I told it to go ahead and create a new one. And that is the time. So this is our daily ticket activity, and this is our daily time activity. So now that this is here in Excel, I can actually go ahead and summarize it with a pivot table. I can grab the dates. Let's quickly do a date filter. Let's say I want to see this quarter. How many we have entered and how many we have resolved by service type. And let's group on the date by month. So that is mine. As you can see, there's lots and lots of tickets still open, but some are being resolved over time. A lot of what this can be, though, is you can close a ticket without putting it in a resolved status, and that's actually probably what that discrepancy is there, because if I grab closed, should match a little better. But let's take a look at time. Time's a little more interesting, I think. Same concept, just make that pivot table. Let's do some hours broken out by member and date. So let's see, by month, I'm going to group. And that's going to give me my breakdown by month. And let's say I don't care so much about the members and I just want to see that breakdown by work type. And let's see, I just want this quarter. So here I am with this quarter. I've got my breakdown by work type or work role. Can quickly just generate a quick pivot chart. And let's stop grouping that. Oops. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. Let's just switch it to like last month. There we go. So you can quickly get that breakdown. You can switch your chart around. I'm not going to focus too much on what you can do in Excel. That people have covered quite a bit. I've also linked to a video on the webinar page that will show you how to connect and install and set up the MySQL for Excel, but it's literally just a quick add-on you install. It's pretty straightforward. So it looks like we've got some questions. Okay, so it looks like we got a couple questions, and Logan's asking just for a recap on how to get your ConnectIO instance set up to begin with. It's something that we handle for you. We'll provide you with your credentials once it's all done. So essentially, to kick it off, there's just a brief survey where you provide us with your integrator logins, and we get everything set up for you, tested. We do the base import, make sure the ticket counts are matching, and then we circle back around to you, make sure that you're implemented. So anybody who does not have it, you can definitely just shoot us an email to, why do I have all of these open? And we can go ahead and get you on track to get going. Or we can also, if you've already got an instance and just don't know how to access it, we can certainly get you your credentials again. Was that like a specific thing, or just I don't know Excel? Oh, I don't know there. Okay. Well, Rob, did you have a specific question about what to do in Excel? And I mean, I can open this up. You can talk. You don't have to type it. Hey, Rob, you are not muted. So if you've got something specific you'd like me to demonstrate or that you'd like to ask, I can definitely. Oh, no mic. All right. Well, I tried. So if you want to type your question, I will happily read it to the group. All right. Well, Rob is, there we go. Okay. Rob, we can get you some examples to play with or something. So no worries. We will get you up to speed pretty quickly. If you have specific questions once you start playing with it too, of course, you can always reach out to us as well. So I'll shoot you an email after and touch base with you. So I'm going to go ahead and just pop over here into Heidi SQL, which is what I use to access my info, and I am going to connect as my read-only user, but which I did not give access to, so I'm not going to do that today. I will take you down here. All right, so why is this not expanding? And you found me on a lovely day where I am having technical difficulties, and the thing I do all day, every day, is not cooperating. Huh. That's fine. I'm glad you guys could be here for that. Well, I assure you that Heidi SQL does work, and you can certainly access your tenant and view your views and your tables. I logged out because I didn't want to be logged in with my super user credentials, and clearly that was a mistake. Is there anything I can answer about the specific reporting views? Are there some views that you guys would like to see that would make your lives easier in terms of reporting? Theo's asking where you can find the report views. So one place is I've got the spreadsheet on our doc site. So there is a spreadsheet of the ConnectIO reporting. Where did I put the reporting views? I didn't publish it yet. It's not published. Give me 1 second. All right, we're going to get somebody to go ahead and publish that right now. But under the webinars, that one, normally I publish it immediately after the webinar. It'll be under here, and there is a spreadsheet that shows them. You can also access them in here. If you pop into, yeah, I'm just logged in under the wrong user. So I also have a search filter on. That is my problem. There we go. All right, so when you are logged into yours, you can take a look at your views by Heidi SQL allows you to group. So right now my view is grouped, otherwise you'll just see everything in one long list. So here are the views that we've got in here. You'll see some views here that we didn't cover today. Some are the standard ones that map to ConnectWise's standard reporting views. Some are works in progress that have not been released to your tenant yet, and some are actually slated for removal or to be replaced. So that is why they were not covered specifically today. But this is where you can browse. So Heidi will allow you to browse your data. It'll allow you to browse the query behind it. It'll allow you to take advantage of that, see what kind of fields you're working with. And let's see. Okay, Gregory's asking if there's any plan to include these in the on-prem ConnectWise instances. I know right now our development efforts are focused on the data warehouse. You can definitely engage with our pro services team to get something that you see here replicated on-prem, but I do know that in terms of where our enhancements are focused, it's definitely more on the data warehouse side. Just because we're not limited by the APIs or changes to ConnectWise's data. So it does allow us to maintain all the historical data and historical metrics. So that is one reason that we're focused more on the data warehouse side. But the vast majority of this stuff, if we can do it here, can be done on the ConnectWise side, and we have people who are able to do it. So if you desperately need it, let us know. And Theo is asking about our on-premise ConnectIO data. Your on-prem data would be your SQL server, presumably. I don't know, Theo, if you are hosted ConnectWise or not, but if you have on-prem ConnectWise, that would be your local SQL server, and then our database would be pulling from your ConnectWise API. So there would be overlap between the data that's there. But ConnectIO is specifically our data warehouse, which pulls in data not just from ConnectWise, but LabTech, your phone system, anything you want to integrate with. Now we've got questions. Anybody got anything else that we can tackle or demo? They are going ahead and publishing the page for this. I will show you that it definitely is real and exists. And there it is. Okay. So here's that video on MySQL for Excel. There's a link to Heidi SQL, just letting you know that that's what we're using. Additional tools, you can check out the ConnectSMART report designers. The slideshow I will add here as soon as we're done. Here's that spreadsheet. You can download it yourself, or you can just view it here in the sort of printable format as a quick reference. Just to note, this is actually filtering out the columns that map directly from ConnectWise, so as not to clutter up that preview. And then down below there are the helpful links here. So the ConnectWise Data Dictionary, their video library on reporting, does cover a lot of their standard reporting views. And some additional tools that we use, like PoorSQL.com. That's just a quick way to format SQL queries to make them readable. And Notepad++, something we use all the time when we're moving stuff between reporting tools. If you need to remove line breaks, things like that. A lot of times you're going to dump it into a reporting tool or one of our gadgets, you'll need to remove line breaks. And WinMerge, of course, you can always compare two files together. Makes life very, very simple. So those are not necessarily something that you have to have, but they are very, very helpful and will make your life much, much easier in working with data. So I don't see any other questions at this point, so I am going to give you guys a moment to gather your thoughts and let me know if you've got anything else, and we'll take that from there. Thea's asking if users need specific programs or privileges to see the reports. The views that we've covered today, not the report templates, but the views that we've covered today, as long as you have access to the CMDB, to the data warehouse, there are read-only credentials, so as long as you've got them, you can technically access the data to view it. On the reports themselves, that's up to you how you decide to share them. You can give folks access through our web portal. You can even make them available via a private URL that you share directly with them, where they would need no credentials at all. So kind of however you choose to do that. It can be kind of as open or as locked down as you prefer. All right, guys, I know that this is not the most titillating topic, so I will not badger you for too many more questions, but of course, if you have any, please do send them over and we will make every effort to answer them. If I see any more come in before I finish running my mouth, I will go ahead and answer them, but I'm going to go ahead and probably start wrapping up here. As I said, when you're done here, if you wandered away and missed the whole thing, you can always come back, watch the recording, which will be up a few minutes after we hang up. And everything you need to get going is right here on the page and available for you guys at all times on the doc site. So I don't see anything else coming in. I am going to go ahead and sign off. And of course, I look forward to talking to you guys. We have these webinars every week, so do check back. And we will talk to you soon. Thank you so much.